Hey guys, welcome. Musky Road Rules podcast, episode number 266. Guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning into us every week. You can find us on all types of podcast outlets. You can find us on Spotify, Amazon. You can find us on iTunes. All you need to do, though, and write this down if anybody's listening, hit subscribe. Please hit the subscribe button, and then we're going to come to your phone every week, or however you listen to these things. We're going to come to you every week. Tonight's podcast is brought to you by Musky Road Rules Seminars. Guys, we got the first one of the year coming up. We're not doing as many this year. It was just a weird year, but we're going to be at Sportsman's Repair in Mosinee, Wisconsin. We're going to be there on this Saturday. It's going to start at 10 a.m., go to 4. We've got 2 really good speakers and 1 not so great. We've got Nate Osfar, we've got Gus Manti, and we've got some guy named Michael Hanson. And he's giggling. At that one, it's going to be cool. I'm going to be doing a little talk as well. So $45 at the door, or you can register online via PayPal at muskyroadrules.com. You can sign up there. And then on Sunday, we're going to be in the Minneapolis area. I'm going to be at Thorn Brothers. And again, it's 10 to 4, and it's going to be me, Luke Ronastrand, that deadbeat, and a couple guys from Fish Electronics. Going to talk electronics. Luke's going to talk a lot about equipment. And then I'm going to do a talk as well. It's going to be pretty cool. And then the following weekend at Nishwa up there in Brainerd, Wisconsin, we're going to have one. It's going to be David Holmes, who's a river fisherman. It's got a really cool seminar. And Doug Wigner is going to be at that one speaking along with myself. So these things are going to be pretty cool. Make sure you check out the website, muskyroadrules.com. You can sign up right there, or you can just pay at the door. Women and children are free. So, guys, don't be wearing wig and high heels to try to get into this thing free. I'm going to be doing a cup check when you walk in. So make sure you're behaving yourselves. And guys, always remember, we'd love to get some text. You can text us on our text line. It's the Lungin Lures text line, 606-776-6570. Shoot us a text. Let us know how you're doing. Let us know how the winter's been treating you. And remember, it's sponsored by Lungin Lures, makers of the 22 short, 22 long, 22 SS, the chubby Alley Cat series of lures like the Stray Cat, the Little LP, and the Rattlin' Shad, which is going to be coming up here pretty soon, guys. It's going to get, the southern stuff's going to definitely get going. But, yeah, so on the podcast tonight, guys, we're going to listen to 2 people. We're going to talk to Michael Hanson from up in the Hayward area, and we're going to talk to Collin Hall, a bait maker there in Ohio who was at the Ohio show last weekend. Guys, how you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Well, good. I am out of breath. Whew. I need to drink water. I do that all from memory. None of that's written down. I'm very impressed with myself. You can be too. That's all for memory. I'm doing that, and I've got the Kentucky-Florida game on mute that I'm watching, so if you hear me swear, it just means that they're annoying me again. But, guys, let's talk Collin. I met you at the Ohio show last weekend. Why don't you tell everybody kind of, what's your bait company name and how you kind of got into this? Sure.
The company name is Creek Hog Baits. The way I got into lure making...
Lost a bet?
No. Actually, it was probably, I think like 2015 or 2016.
You're not that old. Was it in high school? Was this a wood shop project?
No.
Jesus.
And I'm trying to remember. So my buddy John, the gentleman that got me into creek musky fishing, he had like an incredible season, and he was just like running crane baits, like crane 205, 206.
Sure.
And picking a lot of fish with those. And my other buddy Bill and I, naturally after that we were like, oh, we got to get some crane baits. And it just happened to be like a time period where they were just like out of stock everywhere. And there was just like couldn't find any cranes.
Sure. Well, I mean, there are, Bill and Sharon are definitely getting up there in age. So I tell everybody, if you want cranes, keep buying them because Bill's 83. So
yeah, I met him for the first time actually last year.
Nice.
The Elk River. But yeah, so we couldn't get cranes, and my buddy Bill was like, I don't know, maybe we can try to make our own crankbaits. And so he actually bought like a little bandsaw and a sander, and we kind of went to work. And naturally, the first couple baits we made were just hideous, and none of them worked. We kind of went through a couple iterations and still couldn't really get anything to work. Pretty much had no idea what we were doing. And he kind of just ended up being kind of done with it and was like, I'm over it. Myself, I was like determined to try to get them to work. It's just like my personality. If I can't get something going, like I'll exhaust myself trying to get it to work. And so eventually got some baits to work, and then eventually caught some fish on my own baits, and it just like sparked something in me. And then it was like, okay, I can make crankbaits. Like, what's the other type of lures that are out there? Like, started looking at everything, started making glide baits. I'm just starting to mess around, and just recently started dabbling in the soft plastics. So yeah, I just ended up getting addicted to it. And
now at the show, did you have any hard baits there, or was it all soft plastics?
I did not have any hard baits at the show. I just had soft plastics.
Yeah, that's what I thought. You had some really cool looking soft plastics. As a side note, though, if Bill Crane ever offers you a drink out of any bottle that he's drinking out of, be ready. No matter what he tells you it is moonshine. I learned that the hard way when we were at a show one time, and Bill at this time was in his late 70s, and he goes, do you want to, or you look thirsty. Do you need a fuse? And I go, what is a fuse? And at the time, fuse was like this energy, like this, I don't know, like a Gatorade style drink that you would find. And he goes, do you need it? And I'm like, why is this old guy just, hounding me about this fuse? And then finally one time I go, yeah, I took a swallow of that. I don't know what the proof was, but it was a lot. It lit the fuse. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, it was downhill from there. So watch what he hands you. Now? Are you still making the wood baits, or are you just doing the soft plastics?
I still do hard baits as well. I'm actually sitting in my basement right now, just surrounded by baits that are in different stages of being completed. I've always got stuff going on. I just for the show, it's like I can crank out soft plastics like considerably faster than I can hard baits. It took me like a year to get everything that I brought to the Columbus show to make all that.
Sure.
But it's really like, full-time job, wife, kids. So it's like I'm doing it pretty much in the mornings. I'm a morning person ever since the military. I get up 4 or 5 o'clock and usually hang out, drink coffee, and work on baits. So,
oh Jesus, I don't think that. Yeah, I'm more of an evening person. Me in the morning. It's like somebody said, have you ever caught a fish before 6 a.m.? I go, I don't know if I've ever seen before 6 a.m. I didn't even know there was 2 of them. It's been a while since I have done the early morning thing, but that's pretty cool. Mike, you guys fish some crane baits up there, don't you? Or
yeah, a little bit. Twitch baits of all sorts, but I have a few crane baits in the arsenal.
Sure. Now, for guys that don't know, you're fishing up in the Hayward Lakes area there. You're any lakes in particular you kind of specialize on?
Honestly, I'm fishing in 6 different counties in northwestern Wisconsin, so it all really depends on the people that I have in the boat's goals for the day. If they want to go on an action trip, we'll go to a puddle and try to get some action, and then I'll, we get that done out of the way, try to get them to move on to a bigger and badder lake, try to seal the deal on a big fish. And thing about northwestern Wisconsin is there are no lakes within 45 minutes to an hour of one another that contain big fish. So you got to put on a lot of miles to find these lakes. And if they're on, they're on. If they're off, they're off. So
Sure.
do a lot of traveling up here. It's not really smart on the whole money making thing, but you know, I wanna put fish in the boat and big ones in it. Damn it.
Yeah, I get that. Collin, have you ever fished up in Wisconsin?
I have not. No. Mainly Ohio, West Virginia, and a little bit in Kentucky.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, the main thing I learned about Wisconsin when I was up there 20 years ago is just make sure that you're in a lake. When you're musky fishing, make sure the lake you're fishing has muskies in it. Because
that would be a plus.
I did not do that one time because it was back when, Wisconsin, it was, I was fishing. Everybody said, go to Sand Lake. Well, how many Sand Lakes are there in Wisconsin, Mike?
Gosh,
200?
I couldn't tell you, but a few hundred probably.
Yeah. Well, I went and fished one, and I hadn't seen a fish all day, and I was talking to these guys that were walleye fishing. I was like, "Hey, you guys doing any good?" And they go, "We caught a couple walleyes." And they said, "What are you fishing for?" And I go, "Musky." And he goes, "Well, there's no musky in this lake." I go, "That's probably why I haven't caught any."
That would explain a lot.
Yeah, so it's make sure there's muskies in the lake that you're fishing. But Mike, how was your season last year in northern Wisconsin? The 2023 season.
And honestly, it was just like a great season. All around for the summer was kind of slow for big fish, but numbers of smaller fish were very hungry. I think a lot of that had to do with the cool water temperatures that we had. There was a time in late July, early August where our water temps did peak out at around that 78 to 81 degrees. And a few days later, we had finally a big south wind for 3 days straight. And it was a warm south wind, pretty normal. And that water temp dropped from what I said, 78, 81 degrees, all the way down to 68 degrees.
Sure.
So we never had any wind up here all summer long. It was the most windless year I've ever seen. And just that we had cold water, so those big fish were acting really, really cold all year long. But fast forward into the fall, it turned out to be just absolutely fantastic. A lot of big northern Wisconsin muskies hit the net this year. Lost quite a few as well, unfortunately, but especially with suckers, that'll happen.
Sure.
But being able to fish until December 30th, I think, was my last day out. When the season closes on the 31st, was just unbelievable. And we had opportunities all the way up to the end. I just couldn't go one more day. I was done.
Yeah, you guys, that's the latest. That's got to be some of the latest that anyone's fished up there, right?
Oh yeah, I would think so. Unfortunately, I kind of pussed out and I went down south for 2 weeks. So I fished my last 2 weeks of the season down, just Madison area, Conwalk area. I scooted over to Big Green a little bit. Just because that was guaranteed to stay open. But my brother-in-law did catch a 48.5, 35 pounder on the 27th of December in Hayward.
Wow.
Which is unbelievable.
Yeah. No.
For up here to say that you caught a fish that big, that late in the season, which, like you said, I don't think a lot of people have ever got to legally fish for muskies out of a boat. During that time of year.
Yeah, no, that's pretty crazy. I know that. Well, even like right now, we're doing this podcast. Here it is, the last day of January, and in the Northwest Angle, it was 50 degrees today. It's just dumb how warm it is. And do you guys have decent ice right now?
We have about 5 inches of ice, and it's a lot of air pockets in there. It wants to go whenever we get a big warm up. But I don't think it's going to go anywhere anytime soon. But I am kind of excited for it, and I just know for a fact it's going to be a lot less harder on the fish throughout the winter. We've had some just unbelievable winters up here the past couple of years. So I'm kind of excited to see something like this because I just have to assume it's going to be a big bait year. It's going to be a good spawning year.
You can't use the winter kill excuse.
Yeah, exactly.
That's always one of my good ones. I always like that. That's I use that one till about the early July, and then it's turnover.
Sure.
After that. Yeah, so you think it's going to be pretty good? I mean, that's really thin ice for you guys this late in the year, isn't it?
Oh, it's unbelievable. Yeah, we don't have none of our snowmobile trails are open.
Yeah,
I haven't heard a snowmobile like in so long. Like normally, I should be hearing like hundreds upon thousands during the weekend.
Yeah,
I feel bad for the businesses, but I tell you what, it is quiet up here. And it is nice to travel on the ice. It's nice just being able to walk out there. I hate ice fishing, but I've kind of enjoyed it over the past couple weeks.
Collin, how is the snowmobile traffic by you?
Pretty non-existent.
What part of Ohio are you in, Collin?
I'm in Columbus.
Okay, so yeah, you don't see Columbus, Ohio as a snowmobiling destination too often. So yeah, I don't. Even up at the angle, I mean, they're not getting near the snow or near the ice that we should. I mean, they're even talking. I'd even heard rumors. I'm not up there right now. I'm going back next week after the Thorne Brothers event. They're talking of even not pulling some of the houses and not going out as far on the ice. It's just been a bad ice year,
Yeah.
Yep. And I think it's been that way everywhere. And I mean, even in the angle up there, I mean, we are the polar vortex. And it's just not great. How's the snow in Wisconsin? Do you guys have much snow?
No, like I said, the snowmobile trails aren't even open due to the lack of snow. We might have 4 or 5 inches on the ground.
Yeah, that's the angle might have 10 inches. It's not a lot by any means. I'm sure it'll probably get dumped on in March, something stupid like that. But yeah, I just don't get it. I don't understand it, and it's pretty annoying. But Collin, let's talk about
I'm loving it.
What?
It was 40 degrees up here, Greg. It shouldn't be this warm.
Oh, and Hayward, there's people laying out with like the little mirrors, getting the sunburn.
Absolutely.
There's people that
I saw some guys out playing volleyball the other day. It's pretty nuts.
Well, that definitely is a Hayward thing. Volleyball in the snow. What?
Not for me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you don't have enough hair. What's the in the year? What was maybe some techniques and stuff that really was there any like new ones this year or something you learned that might be that you hadn't done in the past?
Yeah, I dabbled a little bit with it last year, but really slowing down small bucktails midday was really good. Seems like these fish aren't even looking at double tens anymore. Everything's full, just one big rotating circle. Not saying that tens are out by any means, but you got to throw something smaller and you got to throw something really slow. And it was amazing. The quality of fish that were going on such tiny baits moving at, which should be flying by most standards, small bucktails midsummer, but they didn't want them fast. They wanted them slow.
Interesting.
Yeah, and were these fish you're contacting shallower fish, or were these fish you're finding out deeper?
No, I would say deep being like 14 feet of water.
And in that 14 feet. Sorry, I'm just question here. In that 14 feet, is that the weed edge or is that off the edge?
Not necessarily. A lot of these lakes up here are the dark stained waters. I do get out on the Cisco bodies of water at certain times of the year and hit them pretty hard as well. But that's, weed edges are primarily in that 5 to 8 foot range.
Sure.
But a lot of these small, darker bodies of water, or I shouldn't say small, because they can be large as well. There's a tremendous amount of perch in there. And these perch, for some reason, don't grow much above 5 to 6 inches.
Sure. And
they're just loaded, and they swim up and down those sand breaks. So a lot of times, especially when we were in the small bucktail program, we were fishing where the perch were, and those perch were anywhere from in the weeds all the way out, cruising to about like 14 to 16 feet of water at its deepest.
Okay.
But just swim up and down that sand edge. The contact weeds will swim out, and the muskies do the same thing. So kind of figured that out, moving out a little bit deeper with that presentation, just due to the amount of fish that we were marking in the sand versus the ones that were actually on the weed edge.
Okay.
So I don't know if those muskies are necessarily sitting there. I'm guessing they're cruising more than likely. So getting on them and, really slowing it down, they just have more time to see it as well.
Yeah. Collin, now at the show, you had your soft plastic baits. How did those come about?
Honestly, for years, I never even ran soft plastics until I started fishing with one of my buddies, Malik, and his brother, John. And they were just running a lot of different types of soft plastics, mainly like the Hellbenders.
Uh-huh.
And they were just landing a lot of fish. And I was like, all right, maybe I need to try soft plastics. And naturally, my head goes to, okay, well, how do I make them myself? So yeah, that's kind of how I got into the soft plastics in like the past 2 years. And, yeah, it's interesting. It's like an interesting transition, going from like making hard baits for so many years to trying soft plastics. It's kind of a different world, but like once you get everything set up and you get into a rhythm, it's nice how much faster you can kind of crank out some baits.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's all about the mix.
Yeah.
And doing it that way. What's the on your soft plastics now, to give people an idea? What sizes are you making? And because yours is a very lifelike sucker looking soft plastic. Is that the only one that you make?
Yeah. So we make the sucker, the hog sucker, as I call it. And then I had a little smaller one at the show that I call the spring fling. And that one was actually kind of the like prototype leading into the larger hog sucker. Like that was like the first kind of soft plastic I wanted to try. I just want to try something like small. And I think it was around the springtime when I was messing around with it. So I wanted something tiny for spring. We've just found that during the spring, a lot of the fish in the creeks will chase after tiny baits. So.
Okay. Yeah. And they're not made for going, super deep or anything. These are made for, because you're in shallower creeks. I think you told me that, you're looking at only getting down like a foot or so, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I try to keep my baits like usually within the 1 foot to like 3 foot range. Obviously if you cast it out there and you let it sit down or, sink down, it would eventually get deeper. And I know I can always throw more weight in them, but yeah, I mean, for our type of fishing, it's a lot better to have a bait that's not real heavy and doesn't dive real fast, just because we're fishing really close to the banks, really close to structure. And it's nice to have a bait that, if you want to toss on the other side of some logs and some timber, to be able to bring it up real quick and kind of bring it up over that log and then let it come back down a little bit. So
sure.
Yeah. I make all my stuff like a little on the lighter side, like even my big 7-inch hog suckers, like only 6 ounces. So
okay, so yeah, it can stay pretty high, and it makes it easier to work it through the structure and stuff. Now, are you painting those? Some of those you had were painted, and were you doing that?
Yes. Yep.
Oh my God. How does that stuff stinks.
It does stink.
I know guys that paint, like Jeff Boggs that does the Boggs Custom, which I think has some of the best soft plastic paint jobs there is. And
oh yeah.
I mean, that stuff, it's not, may cause cancer. It's like will cause cancer. I mean, this stuff is nasty. Is that the stuff you're using?
No, so I'm using a different kind. I actually was looking into that other paint though, but it's like you were saying that paint is extremely toxic. So
yes,
but
yes,
looking at that paint, but I'm also looking at like the full face, air supply respirator, which is like $1,000. I'm like, okay, do I really want that?
Pilot to co-pilot.
Yeah, I think with the paint I have, I'm looking at doing like the clear coat for just like that toxic kind of stuff. It's just a clear coat. I don't know if I would actually jump straight into the paint, but I would like to be able to clear coat them. But it's kind of like I've learned with this paint that I am using that as long as you prep the bait pretty well, like I scrub every bait down and wash all like that soft plastic oil off, that it holds up pretty well. Like the thing with soft plastic is, their life expectancy in comparison to a hard bait is already going to be considerably shorter. You can do the plastic surgery, as I call it, where you're busting out like the super glue, or if you need to heat something up and kind of fuse pieces back together. But, they just don't last as long as hard baits. But, I tested the paint out. I've been running it for like a year now. I have a little aquarium test tank that I obviously like weigh my baits in and test them there. And I painted some just soft plastics and just tossed them in that water and let them sit there for like 5 or 6 months underwater, just to, like, when I first got the paint, I was like kind of skeptical, because I was like, all right, this isn't the toxic stuff, but like how well is it going to hold up if the bait's underwater for a while? Is it just going to like all just come off? And that's like what I was thinking. So like I was able to like reassure myself by like basically leaving baits underwater for multiple months, and the soft plastic itself actually started discoloring before the paint did anything. And honestly, the paint came out looking to the same way it did when I painted it on.
My style of painting would be kind of like the Paz Easter egg painting kit, where you put it like in the little metal bracket and you dip the egg down in there. I could see me doing it that way and it looking like dog shit. I'm sure yours is a lot better. You had some really, really cool paint jobs, very natural, sucker type stuff. And I mean, and that's your main forage, and especially if you're creek fishing. Now, is that primarily what you fish, or do you do much lake stuff? Or
no, I don't do like any lake stuff or any of the reservoirs in Ohio. I am strictly creeks and rivers.
So are you John boat or jet boat?
John boat.
Okay. Yeah, I want a jet boat, but no one will sell me one for cheap. So that's the problem. What about you, Mike? Do you ever fish any of the rivers up there in Hayward?
No, not a whole lot. I can't get my boat in there, and if I can't afford another toy.
Yes.
As much as I'd like to have a jet boat as well. But, I did a lot of river stuff down south. The Wisconsin River, I used to pound that growing up. But, not so much up here anymore. It's real skinny water, not good for a 20-foot Alumacraft.
No, it isn't. What was the, is there anybody up there that's doing the river stuff much?
Yeah, my good friend Chris Willen, he does a lot of the rivers all around up here. He's kind of like me. He's bouncing all over county to county. But Willen is awesome. Very good out on the rivers up here.
Yeah.
And I have done some stuff with him. I guess I forgot about that. But I've always had a great time with him. He showed me some really cool stuff.
Yeah, well, I really I'm getting more and more into river fishing myself, and I take my Ranger tiller if I can get it in there, I'll go. But it sometimes ain't the smartest thing to do. But
No.
But
I was doing that a lot this December.
Yeah, I do really like fishing river stuff, and that's why it kind of caught my eye with your baits up there. What colors are you making? Are you just mainly making the sucker patterns, Collin?
Yeah, I would say my favorite patterns to do are definitely natural. I did have some in the sucker pattern that were like, I call it the goldfish. It was just kind of like a bright gold, or I'm sorry, a bright orange with some gold tinting. But I actually I would say I didn't finish the molds and everything for that lure until like a couple months ago prior to the show. So I was cranking those out overtime to get those ready for the show. And, I just wanted to put out a bunch of natural ones just because that's my personal favorite. But I definitely want to keep pouring some funky colors too. So it's always fun. That's kind of the cool thing about soft plastics is it's like the sky's the limit. I mean, you can just get wild and just start mixing all sorts of colors and glitters and color shift pigments and really kind of make up your own stuff.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there that these baits are the soft plastics. You do have a lot of options, and yours though. Like I said, I thought the colors that you had, the paint jobs, all that were really really good, and it was pretty amazing how they looked. But
thank you.
No, it was. So, Collin, what's the biggest fish you've caught on one of your baits?
Actually, on one of mine, I would say, sadly, it's only a 40.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still naturally like any musky fisherman. I've lost bigger ones. Actually, I lost a pretty good sized one. That was probably 45, 46 on that newer hog sucker. And the biggest that I've seen caught on my baits, I think it's like 44 or 45 that I've witnessed. My buddy Malik, I call him Big Musky Malik. It's like every time I take this dude out fishing, he just is guaranteed to stick a 40. And he's been fishing my baits for years. He was actually one of the guys that was like, dude, you need to do a show. I think people will buy these. So got to give a shout out to him and his brother. They've supported me and they've been fishing my baits for a long time, along with my other buddy Bill and John. So,
well, that's cool. At least they're. It sounds like guys are getting some fish on them and catching some stuff. But you're also fishing creeks that don't have the population of the real bigger fish in them too. I would say, right?
Yeah. There's still some pretty big fish that we've come across. The biggest one I've seen is 47 and a half landed. I've definitely seen, I was like 2 years ago, a 51, 52 in a certain creek in Ohio. That was an absolute just giant.
And when you're talking creek, you're talking creeks though, right? You're talking skinny water. I mean, I've floated creeks here in Kentucky, like Tigrit and Kinnickinnick and those, and they're creeks. I mean, to kind of give you an idea, Mike, we're talking about areas that are maybe 20 feet wide.
Oh yeah, I'm well aware of that.
Like real skinny stuff.
Skinny water.
Yeah, and and there are some big fish that live in that, and they scare the living dog shit out of you when they come up and bite, and you're in that little boat, and I'm really bad at standing and all that good stuff.
So that's like the main reason why I'm just so obsessed with the creek muskies. It just never ceases to amaze me to see these massive predators in these tiny little creeks.
Sure.
That you would never guess to see a fish of that caliber come out of this tiny little pocket in a creek.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. But
man, you don't see jet skiers or pontooners. I think you're in a pretty good area.
Yeah, I was gonna say we rarely run into other people when we're out on the water. I could probably count on both my hands how many times in the past 7 or 8 years that we've ever even ran into anybody else. So I mean, it's a grind, and you usually come out of every trip exhausted from having to pull over and go through riffles. You're usually covered in mud. Like it's kind of, I refer to it as kind of like gorilla fishing. Like it's
sure. I've
getting tired.
I've done it. I've done it before. It's definitely, yeah. We floated the Red River in the gorge.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever fished it. Down here in the natural bridge, the Red River Gorge, and it's, oh my God, it's a lot of pulling. And I fished a creek 2 years ago with Jason Jackson in Huntington, and yeah, it was a lot of pulling, a lot of stuff. But it is a lot of fun though when they're going though. It
is, yeah. I mean, it's pretty wild. I mean, when you can get out on a day where the fish are just lit up, it is nuts. I mean, but yeah, that's what I fished a river in West Virginia with my buddy Derek Tucker of Lucky Tuck Lures. He makes some sick Clyde baits, and he's got, I think, like a 14-foot boat. I forget what type, but like I met him out and went fishing with him, and it was just like kind of surreal to me because I just still came back kind of tired, but I was like, I'm not dirty. This is interesting. Like, I'm not covered in mud. I didn't have to bring waders. I was like, this is wild.
This is nice. Oh,
yeah.
This is how the other half live. That's that's good. That's good. Oh, Mike, we're going to be talking there at the Musky Road Rules event in Mosinee down at Sportsman's Repair. Give me a little taste of what we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, I'm going to do my little segment on maximizing your time, on limited time. Feel like a lot of people that come up to northern Wisconsin, travel to Minnesota, even other destinations too. A lot of times they're up here for a weekend. With the exception of Canada, usually people go up there a lot longer, but the serious fishermen are out for the weekend typically. If you get a family that comes up here for a week, underline the word family in that. So you might have a serious fisherman come up with his family, and that guy is not going to be able to fish as hard as he wants to, I guarantee you. You got to spend time with your family.
But, you got to get to the casino. Jesus, bet on black. That's what I say.
Oh my God. I don't even go into those places. Screw that. I'm a fishing guide. I don't have those kind of funds.
Yeah. Well, trust me.
But,
me neither.
Yeah. So I just want to talk about showing up to new water, breaking down a lake, some of my favorite tactics throughout the year during certain times of the year, so on and so forth. So it should be it'll be a good presentation. I hope to see a lot of people there. I'm excited for it.
Well, no, it'll be good. Jim has a great little shop there. I always end up spending way more money than I should when I go there because I ended up buying something. And he's got, anything from, the man knows reels, he knows rods, he knows trolling motors, he knows electronics. Guys, if you come to this thing, you're going to learn a lot of stuff. If you're if you're thinking about getting new electronics for your boat, or if you're thinking about getting anything, whether it be something for the forward-facing sonar, whether it be just getting your reels repaired, this is a guy. This is a shop, a place that you need to hit. Sportsman's Repair there in Mosinee, and he'll have everything, and plus we've got Nate Osfar will be there. Nate is a buddy of mine that's won a lot of. Him and his partner Matt Rayleigh have won a lot of money in the PMTT. They'll be doing a good talk, and then Gus Matley, Gus Manty. It's not Matley. I always get in trouble for that. Will be doing talks as well about northeastern Wisconsin. I think it's going to be a great event. It's going to be a lot of fun. And, so hopefully Saturday we can see you guys there. And then if you're in Minnesota and you want to come to the Thorn Brothers deal, I think you're going to really like that too. It's always fun to go to Thorns and see what they got and see Luke and the other group from Fish Electronics. Electronics have become such a huge part of muskie fishing, especially lake muskie fishing. And learning how to, with the side imaging, the forward facing, and just, understanding how to read everything. It's become a huge part of it. But yeah. So Collin, how can somebody get a hold of you to get some baits, or is it like a secret handshake?
I think the best way to probably get a hold of me at the moment is just to shoot me a message either through my Instagram or the Facebook. Instagram is probably the better, faster option. I usually hop on there a little more than Facebook these days. But, at the moment, I don't have like a website or anything. But I will be at the Elk River show if anybody in that area wants to come out. And I'll be bringing the baits that I have left over to sell there, and hopefully meet some new guys in that area. So.
Sure. So what's the name of the Instagram page?
Creek Hog Baits.
Creek Hog Baits. Well, there you go. Mike?
Hog is H-A-W-G.
H-A-W-G. There you go. Mike, how about you? How can somebody get a hold of you?
You can reach me on my cell phone. It's area code 608-695-9073. Otherwise, my email is hanson.michael608@gmail.com. My website is naguideservice.com, Namakagon Area Guide Service. So,
non-alcoholic guide. I go, well, that's not a very fun fishing guide.
Oh man, I haven't had a drink in 3 days. It's pretty crazy.
Oh my God, no wonder you're convulsing. I hear the shakes in your voice.
I know. I need to get off the phone. I'm getting thirsty over here. No.
What now? 608. Is that a Madison number?
Correct. Yeah, I moved up here about 6 years ago now. So.
Gotcha. What brought you up there? Just fishing?
Yeah. Honestly, I had an opportunity to work at a resort up here, and the guy told me, if I worked for him and I'd be full-time guiding in 3 years, and he wasn't wrong. In fact, he was a little wrong. I was doing that within 2 years. So
nice.
It was just it was a good opportunity, and Madison was a cool place to grow up in, but I did not want to live there for the rest of my life. It is a crazy, crazy city.
Do they still have the place Smut and Eggs?
I don't know. I don't think they have that anymore. I think enough people complained about it finally. And
Collin, if you
turned and they got soft.
Collin, have you ever heard of Smut and Eggs?
No.
It was a breakfast joint that was open all night, and they played porno on these giant 60-inch TVs while you're eating waffles.
Okay.
It was super weird. I ended up there one night. It's not what you're expecting when you're ordering bacon, and there's things going on all over around. And it is. That was one of the weirder places I've been to. One of the weirder places.
Yeah, I've never been to it, but I heard stories about it.
Oh, God.
I don't need to go see that. I heard they were all like 70s pornos.
Oh, God, yes. There was.
No, I don't need to be sitting next to a 60-year-old guy.
There was no trimming going on. It was, it was pretty wild. But, well, guys, hey, thanks for coming on tonight. Thanks for talking a little bit. And as always, make sure you check out Musky Road Rules, guys. We got this weekend coming up in Mosinee, and then Sunday at Thorn Brothers. And then next Saturday, we're going to be in Nishwa, the Brainerd area. And we'd love to have you guys come out. Guys, thanks for coming on. Always a pleasure, and I will talk to you guys later.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for having us.
See you guys.